Welcome back to This is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to be talking about Commander rules in another episode of Tough Rules and Cool Interactions. Not really going to be talking about rules specific to Commander, but going to be talking about the rules of two of the recently spoiled cards from the Strixhaven, Commander 2021 precons that have just recently come out. So, the two cards that we're going to be taking a look at for today is going to be Guardian Archon and Marshland Bloodcaster. So let's take a look first at Guardian Archon. This is a white creature Archon. It's a 5/5 for 4 white. It is flying and has, as a Guardian Archon enters the battlefield, secretly choose an opponent. Reveal the player you choose. You and target permanent you control each gain protection from the chosen player until end of turn. Activate only once. Now, we've seen this kind of effect on a few other cards in the past, not many, where you secretly choose a player. So in this one, the ability that we're going to be focusing on is that reveal the player that you chose, and what its effect actually is going to be. So the act of revealing the player, you can see there it's got that colon, so that is actually the activation cost. You have to pay that to do this ability. So that is part of the payment. And then it says that you and target permanent you control each gain protection from the chosen player until end of turn. So there's a few specific things that we want to pay attention to there. It says that you and target permanent you control. So you actually, there's only one target. You're not targeting yourself. You is just part of it, but the only target that you're giving is the target permanent you control. So when you guys use this, I highly recommend that the target permanent you decide to choose, that you decide to target, is a land. I know that might seem a little ridiculous. You're probably wanting to use this to protect a creature of yours, or maybe like a really vital artifact or enchantment is being targeted with destruction rather than like damage or something like that. And that's probably what you would like to use to protect. But if you're wanting to use this, I highly recommend trying to use it to protect yourself because of that whole target permanent thing. So I'm going to go into the actual rule here. It's rule 608.2b. Now there's going to be a little bit more to it. I'm going to stop reading at the point where it does become most important to this Guardian Archon and the ability. So if you do want to check out the full rule, then do check the video description down below for that. All right, so 608.2b. If the spell or ability specifies targets, it checks whether the targets are still legal. A target that's no longer in the zone it was in when it was targeted is illegal. Other changes to the game state may cause a target to no longer be legal. For example, its characteristics may have changed, or an effect may have changed the text of the spell. If the source of an ability has left the zone it was in, its last known information is used during the process. All right, here's the important part. If all of its targets, for every instance of the word target, are now illegal, the spell or ability does not resolve. It is removed from the stack, and if it's a spell, it's put into its owner's graveyard. Otherwise, the spell or ability will resolve normally. So again, there's more to the rules text there. But basically, let's say somebody uses this to try to destroy a permanent of yours. Probably not a good example. Let's say they're trying to do something that targets you specifically. Maybe they're wanting to do a mass burn spell against everything or something like that. So if they're trying to do that, and you throw this out, if they, in response, exile the target permanent you pick. So if you pick a creature, maybe your commander, if they exile it with something like a Swords to Plowshare or Path to Exile, that one single target, if it gets exiled in response to this, it no longer sees that. And because that was the only instance of the word target is no longer there for this ability to resolve and see that permanent, the whole thing is going to go away. It's going to fizzle from the stack, and then now you do not get the protection from this card. So maybe they're trying to do like a board wipe, or not a board wipe. They're swinging all out at you. You want to get protection so that you have 0 damage taken from all their creatures. That's probably what the most common use of this is going to be. And if this is the case, and they exile the card that you can pick anything. I mean, technically, they could still destroy or remove or gain control of, anything to screw over your targeting of the land that you pick as your permanent. But this is Commander that we're talking about, so more than likely, a creature is going to be the most common thing that is targeted. So that's just kind of my input from that. If you're using this card, you're probably going to want to pick a land just to make sure that it happens. And just to give you guys another example of this kind of effect happening, let's go with something like Sorin's Thirst. And that is a black card that reads, Sorin's Thirst deals 2 damage to target creature, and you gain 2 life. So this is another case of there's another effect, the you gain 2 life kind of thing. That's kind of like the you gain protection from the Archon. But if you try to deal 2 damage to target creature, and they sacrifice the creature in response, or they exile it, or somebody else gains control of it, actually if they gain control, it would still be targeted. But in any case, if that creature were to leave the zone or gain hexproof, shroud, protection from black, something like that, that would stop this from being able to target it, then you wouldn't actually gain the 2 life. The whole card shuts down if all instances of targets are taken away. So yeah, just a few interesting things about that card, and something that you guys may not know how it interacts with things. So the next card is going to be Marshland Bloodcaster. This is another new card, again from Commander 2021. It is a black creature, Vampire Warlock, 3/5 for 4 and a black. It has flying, yeah, that's cool. But the main thing is its ability that says you can pay 1 black and tap, and it says, rather than pay the mana cost of the next spell you cast this turn, you may pay life equal to that spell's mana value. So this is a replacement effect, letting you, not a replacement effect, but this is a alternate cast. All right, it's kind of something that we've seen similar with like Bolas' Citadel. So I want to make note that this is, again, it's an alternate cost to casting the spell. So you cannot combine it with other alternate costs, things like Escape or Overload. You can't mix and match those. You can, however, use additional costs, things like Kicker and Buyback. But if you do, you'll be paying that additional cost, those Kicker costs and Buyback costs, you'll be paying those like normal. You wouldn't be able to pay those with life. You'll just be paying them with the mana. And in case you do, this is the main thing I wanted to talk about, because I saw a lot of people talking about casting X spells, things like an Exsanguinate, which lets you pay life to cast, this guy lets you pay life instead of casting a card normally through its mana. So people were thinking like, oh, I can just do Exsanguinate, X equals 30, and I get the 30 life back from Exsanguinate, plus some. And if you're casting a spell like Exsanguinate via its alternate cost, then the only value that you can choose for X actually is 0. So you'll be exsanguinating for 0 if you try to cast it via Bloodcaster's ability. And the specific rule for that is going to be 107.3b. This one's a lot shorter than the last one, so I'll read the whole thing. If a player is casting a spell that has an X in its mana cost, the value of X isn't defined by the text of that spell, and an effect lets that player cast that spell while paying neither its mana cost nor an alternative cost that includes X, then the only legal choice for X is 0. This doesn't apply to effects that reduce a cost, even if they reduce it to 0. So yeah, that's all I really have for today's episode. I just kind of saw a lot of misconceptions on Reddit, Facebook, and YouTube about these. So if you guys were planning on using these cards for these kind of effects, keep that in mind, that the Bloodcaster does not let you do X spells the way you may think it does, and the Guardian Archon, you may not want to target a creature, you may want to target a land to ensure that it goes through unimpeded. So hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Again, this is a new channel, so if you guys can, take the time, fill out the little survey that I have in the video description. That kind of feedback is really going to help me to grow this channel. So that concludes this episode of Tough Rules and Cool Interactions, and I hope you guys have learned some new things about some rules and seen some cool interactions that you can have with some of these cards. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you want to get more future episodes of Tough Rules, Cool Interactions, and other episodes eventually once I start doing them for This Is a Commander channel. So hope you guys have enjoyed it all. Have a good one. Ta-ta.